Now, recently I've noticed something very important. I've been paying attention to the average view duration on my videos and they have gone up significantly, meaning a lot of people are actually paying attention to what I'm saying. So let me try to be more clear just to give you an idea in terms of what is to come for the crypto market. Just to give you an idea, every single time the crypto market goes into a consolidation phase after an explosive result and the super trend is flipped into an uptrend, there is always a little bit of a sell-off that is experienced before we see any sort of recovery. Now, if you look at Dogecoin, you guys can see for a short period of time, there was a little bit of a sell-off and it did go down to retest close to where the previous support was sitting, close to 19 cents. It was able to rebound, but again, just in the last 3 hours, we have experienced a little bit of a fallout. Something similar can be seen with Bitcoin, but the only difference is the super trend has been broken, and now there is signs that there might be a little bit of a sell-off we might experience, which is obviously going to impact majority of the altcoins. One thing that was a little bit crazy is this tweet from Donald Trump. Donald Trump says, "I like President Xi of China, but he is very tough and extremely hard to make a deal with." And that's good. I mean, at the end of the day, not everyone's going to listen to what Trump has to say. On the other end, Russia's Moscow Stock Exchange launches Bitcoin future trading. This gives you perspective that now Russians are going to be rushing very quickly to actually get more involved with crypto, and knowing the economy is going through a little bit of a rough patch, it's going to be a little bit more incentive for them to actually get invested in crypto. And talking about Dogecoin could explode for a 2,100% gain if this pattern holds. Now, before we get into the full details, if you guys are here for the first time, you want to stay up to date with everything to do with the crypto market, scroll down, tap the red subscribe button, especially turn on your notification if you want the latest and the most true information so you can stay up to date without having to, follow YouTubers which are just trying to pump the coin. And while you're there, drop a like on the video. It's just going to help your brother out tremendously. We've been smashing every single like goal, so let's go for a like goal of 39. Now, first of all, I want to talk about the price action. It's very important for you to understand what is happening with Bitcoin to be able to get a more clear idea in terms of what to expect from Dogecoin in the coming time. Just to give you an idea, you can see that this last 2 hours there was a very strong volatility that actually swept the entire market. The reason for this is if you just simply go to this, which is obviously the open interest, you'll come to realize that the open interest received a little bit of liquidations. And to get the exact numbers, you can see that the long traders have been impacted quite heavy, close to 11 million just in the last 24 hours. But at the same time, the short traders have lost about 10 million, which is actually coming to a little bit of a balance. And also the long to the short ratio is actually starting to favor the long traders quite heavy. Now, if you compare this one to what Dogecoin is doing, it's a little bit different story with a 80 to 19% split as compared to about 57 to 43%. So does this mean that Dogecoin is about to go explosive? Well, just keep in mind it's going to be heavily dependent on Bitcoin, and secondly dependent on the way Ethereum is going to play. The reason the market is currently a little bit unpredictable, and that's causing everyone to be in a little bit of a fearful situation, is due to the tensions between Trump and Xi Jinping, which is obviously Chinese president. Those two, Trump thought to be more clear, he pretty much thought soon as he's going to put tariffs, China is going to bow down to America. But that did not exactly go as planned, and currently there is a little bit of an unexpected trade war that's going on. First of all, they met in Switzerland trying to reduce the trade war. That did go as planned, and it's very clear that the amount of tariffs that were placed came down to about 30 to 15% from China. And now we're back to square one because both of them are slowly trying to come to some sort of trade deal that majority of the countries would be able to favor. But it's very clear that China does not want to agree with every single term or every single thing or every single requirement or legalization that Trump wants to give to them. He does not want to accept it, and it's very clear that's causing Trump to make it much harder for the deal to complete. And on the other end, some of the biggest whales on the network have bought over 30,000 Bitcoin just in the last 4 days, and that should give you perspective why Bitcoin was showing a little bit of a positive sign. But this breakout that we just experienced in the last 2 hours was pretty much the turning point, if you ask me, because currently there is going to be a little bit more fear building up, and considering the fact that 9th of June is about only 4 to 5 days away, it's definitely going to be having a strong impact. At the same time, top 10 meme coins to watch in June 2025, and the first one, the king of meme coins, is still doing extremely well with Dogecoin. And Bitcoin, Ethereum, Dogecoin continue uptrend while XRP surges 5%. Now this uptrend will be a little hard to hold. Keep in mind it will be heavily dependent on the way the market is going to play out, and first of all, you need to pay attention to the altcoin season. You can see it's very clearly in the favor of Bitcoin. So currently the entire market is going to be heavily dependent on the way Bitcoin is going to perform. If Bitcoin is able to show a positive trend, everything will follow through. But if you just pay attention to, some of the tokens which have lost the most, you'll come to realize that it's actually very surprising ones, such as Bonk is there and Radium. Those are both very big names when it comes to the Solana chain meme coin. So everything relating to Solana is in a little bit of a shamble. And now I want to show you guys Solana. Solana is down about 10% just in the last 7 days. So you guys can see there is a little bit of uncertainty. And keep in mind, Dogecoin and Solana just had their interlink, which happened just about 4 or 5 days ago. And that's going to allow for much easier or much more transactions to follow, or much more volume to get into Dogecoin, allowing it for better results. Now, I'm not saying Dogecoin hasn't failed quite miserably as well in the last 7 days, but there is a lot more chance of revival from both of them and might actually make a lot of profit. While Dogecoin outpaces Bitcoin in the daily gains as select meme coins show potential rebound. Currently, Dogecoin is definitely outpacing Bitcoin, because if you just pay attention, Bitcoin might move a little bit, but Dogecoin is pretty much extreme version of it, as it's just a little bit more volatile, giving you much more higher chance of making more profit if you are going to be a short-term trader. While Trump-backed Truth Social Bitcoin ETF filed with SEC amid the expanding crypto ventures. Now, we all know that Truth Social is very different now, because initially the purpose of making that app was very different to what it's trying to do currently. Currently, they're just trying to expand as much as possible in the crypto space, and now they're trying to pretty much get an ETF running for themselves, so they're able to make profit from all the purchases that can come through. And Hong Kong considers introducing Bitcoin derivatives trading for professional investors. Hong Kong is trying extremely hard to try to make sure that they can be the hub for the entire world, as UAE, Japan are trying to compete in terms of which one is going to be doing better with XRP. And finally, MicroStrategy says Bitcoin is life raft as US dev soars past 100% of GDP. This is the only way the US country can be protected, and that's what a lot of people are believing. If they do decide to buy into it, it would be quite crazy. And Pakistan reveals the Bitcoin reserve plan to Trump's crypto team at the White House. So this is very interesting because, as I mentioned, Trump is a very strong driving factor in terms of what will happen to the crypto market, but Pakistan is currently going through some very harsh times, and right now they're trying very hard to get their crypto game up as soon as possible, while Spanish coffee brand plans to invest over 1 billion in Bitcoin. So there is a lot of good days ahead. You just need to be a little patient. This is no financial advice. I hope you have a good day, and I'll see you boys soon.